The scriptures declare in Isaiah 55, verse 3, incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. The precious words. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. All we have to do, hear, and your soul shall live. A few weeks ago I was in Mauritius. It's a little island off the coast of Africa. I'm on my way back this Tuesday to Africa. I love that continent. Precious people in those countries. But I'll never forget when I was in Mauritius and 50,000 people filled the great soccer stadium, and for 3 nights I was driven to the stadium by a gentleman who was Indian, from India. On the way to the airport after the crusade, I said, how did you enjoy the crusade? Well, he said, Pastor Benny, I did not come. I said, what do you mean? You drove me. You were my driver. You did not come? No, he said, I sat in my car. I said, you never heard me preach? He said, no. Why? I said. Oh, he said, I'm a Hindu. I said, you're Hindu? He said, yes. I said, you drove me 3 days and you're a Hindu? He said, yes. I said, you never heard me preach? He said, no. I said, what's your name? He gave me his name. For 3 days, I did not even know his name. And I said, have you ever been to a church? No. You know anything about Jesus Christ? Not really. I said, how many gods do you worship? He said, millions. And the Lord said, talk to him. So I said, I want to ask you a question. He was very polite, very nice man. Young man, maybe in his 30s. I said, can I ask you a question? Yes, please. Have any of your gods ever told you they care for you? He said, no. Have any of your gods, even one of them, ever said, I love you? He said, no. I said, have any of your gods ever said something like this? Come unto me and I'll give you rest. He said, no. I said, let me tell you about Jesus. And I began to talk to him. And he listened very intently. I said, you know that Jesus Christ is the only person only person that ever uttered these words. And I gave him Matthew 11. And I said, Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." I said, have you ever heard any one of your gods or any person or anyone ever say those words? He said, no. Well, I said, the fact is no one has. I said, no philosopher, no prophet, no person ever in history has ever said, "Come unto me, all you who labor and all you who are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." I said, nobody has ever offered rest to humanity except Jesus. I said, now, you say none of your gods ever said to you they care for you? No. And none of them ever said, "I love you." I said, no. I said, Jesus not only said he loved us, he proved it by dying on a cross. And people, that's about all I had to say to him, by which time we were driving up to the airport, and he looks at me and says, "Pastor Benny, today I am becoming a Christian." And I thought to myself, the man did not even come to the crusade. He never saw one miracle. He simply heard 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, of a preacher talking to him about the most wonderful thing, that Jesus Christ loved him. That's all I had to do. Jesus is love. He's love. When I was in India in 2006 and 2007, in 2007 we had 7 million people come. 7 million in 3 days. That was probably the largest crowd I think that ever gathered in India for anything. And I'll never forget the news people that came, hundreds of them, hundreds of news organizations from all over India. And this woman, very smart woman, very smart. I took a group of preachers with me. One of them was Jensen Franklin came. I said, "Jensen, just come and pray for me." He said, "On the problem, just pray the whole time." And a lot of preachers from the U.S. came with me, and others from, other parts of the world. And they were there in the back. And Jensen was standing as the news groups were all over me with microphones everywhere and cameras. And this very smart woman, she said, "Well, you talked about Jesus to our people. Why did you not talk about," and she gave me some name of some God I never heard of. "Well, why didn't you tell the Hindu people about," and she gave me whatever name that God, supposedly the most famous God in India. And you could feel the tension in the room. And all of them are Hindus. Why didn't you talk about our gods? And especially this God she mentioned who was so famous. I said, "Young lady, since I do not know this God, I cannot speak for him. I represent Jesus Christ, and therefore I can only talk about him." I said, if I served this God you mentioned, I'll gladly talk about him. But since I know nothing about him, I have nothing to say. Therefore, I have nothing to say about anyone I don't know. But I do know Jesus. So she said, "You have nothing to say about our gods?" I said, "I know nothing about them. Therefore, I am not authorized to speak. But if you want to know more about Jesus, I'll tell you." She said, "Go on, tell us." And I told all India on television, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, precious people, I'm here to tell you, He is the Son of God. And there is no other way to heaven but through Him.